Let's go. My amplified unit, welcome. Monday Night Raw preview 7/15/24, JR9 Gaming, 19 months membership. We have reached 19 months of channel membership. Wow, man. JR9 right there from the beginning. I believe the very first, if not the very, one of the first three for sure. Channel members. JR9 Gaming says, Isla, done filthy again after drawing on Speed vs. Mello. Becure's signing and Julia's arrival soon cements NXT as the #1 female division. Ridiculously stacked. I'm going to get to all of that in this 30-minute live stream. Hopefully 30 minutes. If it goes longer, it goes longer. But I'm going to try to get you guys in and out of here within about 30 minutes. I know you're coming off the weekend. A lot to do before Monday Night Raw. I totally get it. If you're live in and out, smash that up. Thank you. If you're part of the future amplified unit, the replay unit, I also am going to need you guys to smash that up as well. Put a power bomb, a Canadian destroyer on that up. Make that like button look up at the lights. Or put the like button in a figure 4 leg lock. Or no, put the subscription. Subscribe with a figure 4 leg. Make the subscription tap out. Salute everybody, man. Live and the replay unit, man. I know this is on 26 minutes of notice, this live stream. But this was the only time I could do this. Your playback sounds good. I'm going to switch to my playback if you don't mind. So I can hear what I'm saying in real time. Check, check, check. Check, check. BC, and the unit coming at you. 1 2 1 2. BC and the unit coming at you. I'm good. My playback is good. But JR9, I appreciate it, man. 19 months strong. That is badass, dude. Appreciate it big time. Right there from the very jump. No day one-ish. 19 months, man. Wild. Thank you to everybody who's got that gold card, man, that channel membership. I appreciate you guys big time, man. Reese, I believe it was, and Reese is up in here right now. Reese Monet, I believe was, hold on, was that my super thanks super chat? Yes, Reese. To be honest, All In is looking better than SummerSlam as of right now, and that's just with 2 announced matches. I appreciate that, Reese. In my last upload, the SmackDown review, that super thanks super chat. And there's no lies detected there right now. SummerSlam is up in the air. A lot of fans are just not happy with it. We'll see what the final card produces. But Reese, appreciate it. JR9, appreciate it. And every single gold carder up in here, especially, man, channel membership. Thanks for chucking a coffee over at BC in the channel. It's never needed. Always appreciated. We're going to go over the Monday Night Raw preview for tonight. You guys are not going to believe this. The IC title match that they have announced. There's a big segment actually with one of their female wrestlers, and then we'll iron out the rest of the card as well for tonight. Also have some TK AEW news on their new TV rights deal. That's all coming up. Like I said, we'll try to stuff this all within about a half an hour, give or take a few minutes. I do want to just touch base. Hopefully you guys had a good weekend, by the way. Hopefully you guys kicked ass, man, whether you hit the gym and got even stronger or not. Or you're headed to the gym today, maybe sometime this week, or you're just taking the week off. Hopefully you guys were still amplified, man, throughout the weekend and into this new week where we are now just 19 days away from SummerSlam. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 19 days away from SummerSlam, man. We got to be amplified going into it for sure. I do want to touch base on No Mercy and Halloween Havoc. NXT. WWE has announced 2 big PLEs. No Mercy was kind of already announced. That's September 1st, Sunday. And then they back that up with a big announcement for Halloween Havoc. That's going to be Sunday, October 27th. So NXT, 2 big events coming off a very successful heat wave. You're going to have No Mercy Sunday, the 1st of September. You're going to have Halloween Havoc, Sunday, October 27th. That was always one of my favorite pay-per-views back in the day from WCW. Halloween Havoc. Back then, they used to have a thing called Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal. And you'd spin the wheel, whatever match it would land on. That's the match you would have. Man, that was the days of Sting, Vader, Ric Flair, Barry Windham, you name it, man. Mankind or Mick Foley's Cactus Jack was big back then. Jake Roberts had just went over to WCW. Anyway, that's big news from WWE's NXT branch. Also, some other news to go over. Natalya has locked in her new WWE deal. BC told you that's how it was looking. It did not look like she was going to All Elite Wrestling or going to Japan for a year or going to make the Natalya World Tour on the Indies. It always looked like she was going to re-sign. It took a little bit longer than expected, but she has, from what we are hearing, Natalya is staying in WWE. Does that move the needle for you guys? I don't know, but it is a feel-good story. There's nowhere else Natalya should be. She has done everything for Vinnie Mac. She has done everything from Hunter Hearst Helmsley that she's been asked. She's basically there to help all the newbies come in and work with them, right? Almost like a coach, like Serena Deeb over in AEW, basically. And if they can throw her a bone, put her in a storyline here or there, even better. But Natalya has done everything that she's been asked, so not much more you can do other than when you've had enough, you just say, all right, you're gone. We don't need you anymore. That sounds pretty harsh. I don't see that happening, and it didn't. She has re-signed with WWE, so we'll see. Now we just need them to sign her sister as well, Jenny, right? Make them the tag team that we all want to see. Natty and Jenny, the Power Boosters. If you guys know, you know, Jenny and Natalya. They're one heck of a twosome. Or foursome, I guess you could say. If you know, you know. Natty and Jenny, that's the tag team we want. Natalya sticking with WWE. Also, what other news do I have for you? WWE, the new WWE female superstar that's rocking the world of wrestling, Stephanie Vecchio, has already debuted for the company. Stephanie debuted in Mexico. I think it was Mexico City, I believe. But debuted in Mexico already. And she defeated one half of your tag team champions, Isla Dawn. So champion did get defeated this past weekend by Stephanie Vecchio. So this is Stephanie's first big match with WWE, debut match. They're going to hit the ground running with this girl. That's pretty obvious. They see big things for Stephanie. This is somebody who wasn't even on the map not too long ago. She has this match in AEW for Forbidden Door with Mercedes Moné. Tony Khan was looking to re-sign or sign her or do big business with her at least with CMLL and New Japan, everything that Stephanie had her hand in. Tony Khan wanted to do a lot more, put her on this stage with Mercedes, and then he blinked, and all of a sudden Hunter Hearst Helmsley swooped in and grabbed her. And she's already debuting, man. Has a victory over tag team champion Isla Dawn. So giving her even more respect than somebody like Blair Davenport, who finally showed up to SmackDown and had a pretty simplistic loss to Naomi within 5 minutes this past Friday night. Stephanie Vecchio has debuted with the WWE. Also, Rey Mysterio now has a record for the most matches post-Hall of Fame induction. You think? The dude was inducted into the Hall of Fame years before he's going to retire. That's why I told you guys, on one hand, I'm so glad to hear that he's inducted. It's a good feel-good moment. But on the other hand, I said this is absolutely ludicrous. He's in a massive storyline at the time with his son Dominic, and that's, I believe, why they did that. They wanted to kind of add to that. But you don't just use a Hall of Fame as a part of a storyline, an induction. I told you guys that Rey Mysterio right beforehand said, I'm not yet there at retirement talk. That tells you he's going to be there a couple more years, couple 2-3 bare minimum. And you're putting him in the Hall of Fame. Can't you just let it breathe? Let the dude retire, have a year or two bare minimum to really digest his career, and then get the call to come to Stanford and iron out a Hall of Fame induction, and then get that moment with his when he really gets to relive all those moments. There is no reason to throw this guy into the Hall of Fame when he's nowhere near done. And then everybody's surprised that in just a little over a year, Rey Mysterio has the most matches of a Hall of Famer. You think? But this is the new trajectory that we're headed in, right? Even Paul Heyman, who's nowhere near retiring. Paul Heyman just went in this past year, a few months ago. Well, I'll tell you this, he's going to be here many more years. I just wish that we would just let people retire, stay retired for a bit, and then it's just a massive moment when their name is called upon and they get to go into the Hall of Fame. But he surpassed Jerry Lawler. He was the last, he had like 30 some odd. I think Rey Mysterio was like 33 or 34 matches, something like that. So Scott McMinn in the chat, no doubt, just way too soon, man. I don't get that. I don't get that at all. But congrats to Rey. What a weird accomplishment. Most matches post Hall of Fame induction, and the guy's nowhere near being retired. He's got no desire to retire anytime soon. Very odd. Also, in the news, what did I go over? NXT No Mercy Halloween Havoc. Natalia's locked in. Stephanie McCure has debuted. How about this one? Tony Khan says ongoing negotiations with Warner Discovery is a complicated process. He says he feels they've had great conversations, but it's a complicated process. That is not what you want to hear when your deal expires at the end of the year. When you're months away, when you want something that should have been ironed out many, many months ago, you don't want to say it's a complicated process. But we believe that a deal was presented to TK. TK did reject it, feeling they deserved a little bit or wanted more money. Chris Jericho even backed that up. Jericho said in an interview, I just want what we feel we have earned, what we deserve as far as a TV deal. But it's not up to Jericho to decide what they feel they have earned or deserved. The ratings tell the network, and the network doesn't feel like they're worth a ton of money, so they gave this offer to TK, and he didn't want it. So he bet on himself. That's the new thing today, right? Betting on yourself. Cody Rhodes bet on himself, and it worked. Aaron Judge for the New York Yankees. He bet on himself, right? He did not re-sign during his year. He waited. If he had a bad year, it could have affected him paycheck-wise. If he has a good year, he was going to make millions and millions more. Guess what? He had a Hall of Fame type caliber year, not career, a year that many players will never have. And he cashed in tens of millions of more dollars because he bet on himself. Cody Rhodes, Aaron Judge, Tony Khan bet on himself. He said, no, I'm not going to take that deal. He brought in Mercedes. He brought in Okada. He brought in Will Ospreay. And he truly tried to bump those ratings to a point where he looks at Warner Discovery and says, now give me my money. Unfortunately, this is one of those sadder situations where he bet on himself in AEW, and it did not work. The bet failed, unfortunately, and the ratings dropped. And now they're struggling to get 700,000, much less try to get back to the 800,000, and 900 is long gone. But the ratings, just the floor, it opened up and they fell through. So it's sad that, but I don't blame them rejecting the first offer. I heard it was a very low ball offer. So it's either you jump on it and you don't have that much esteem in your product, or you really bet on your product. I don't blame Tony Khan. It's unfortunate that the ratings drop like they did, and we're in a situation where they need to come up with a deal in just a few months, and they're not there, not even close. And Warner Discovery is not budging. So it's very interesting. Now, Scott says also Punk is gone. Punk never really moved the needle. If you guys check the ratings out, Punk in AEW pretty much bottomed out at about 950. That was the normal, 950-ish. Even when Punk was gone, injured, suspended, you name it, they still tussled around 900,000. Once in a while, they dip high eights. But CM Punk was not bringing consistent million viewerships or anything like that. He was not doubling pay-per-view buys. So as much as that is the narrative, and he did help, he gave a bit of a spark to AEW, you could say, he never actually moved the needle in AEW. Unfortunately, a growing trend is that nobody really moves the needle. Doesn't matter if it's a Punk, doesn't matter if it's a Monet, doesn't matter if it's an Ospreay, doesn't matter if it's an Okada. It doesn't really matter if it's an Edge. Doesn't matter if it's a Christian. It doesn't matter if it's an Adam Cole Bebe. Nobody can truly collectively move the needle. They really have to get a storyline that is going to park everybody's asses into their seats and force them to put the remote control down on AEW television. But until that happens, the storylines and all that, you can put all the talent in the world on. We've noticed something in today's wrestling. The name, the talent alone doesn't bring asses to seats. That's just the case. I mean, even CM Punk being on Monday Night Raw, you guys can check the ratings. They're still fledgling around 1/8 and 1/7, and that's their top tier. No Monday Night Football competition. CM Punk is not the name that he once was. Would have been great for AEW, would have been great for WWE. He still does send that spark, though. I'll be the first to say that when CM Punk is on Monday night, I feel like there's a reason to get a little bit closer to the edge of my seat. There's a reason to care, like last week's promo that he had with Seth. So there's no doubt Punk brings a spark, but it's not a needle mover anymore, and it wasn't for AEW. 950 was their top tier, fledgled around 900,000, and without them, they've had a bulk of people come in. Nobody can get to that next level. So that's the TV deal negotiations currently. Tony Khan is saying that they are, and I quote, the discovery negotiations are a complicated process. Still no word on even any side budging. He says he believes they're great conversations that he's having, but it's not equaling out to anything. Jared9, that is absolutely true, and you guys know how high I am on MJF. In fact, it got so bad, his return was almost non-existent. It was so irrelevant that they had him turn immediately with a badass beatdown on, who was it? Who'd he just beat down last week? I don't know why I want to say Cassidy. Who was that, guys? He just flipped up. He just flipped in, what'd he say? He beat the heck out of somebody, did a turn, right? Dan Garcia, thank you. I don't know why I wanted to say Orange Cassidy. Dan Garcia. So that, you got to believe that was not pre-planned this whole time that he was off. So, yeah, MJF, that was not the way to bring him back. I think that's pretty obvious. So, a lot of botches along the way, but I truly want to see them succeed, because a better AEW will force WWE to care and be even better, and then it's a healthy pro wrestling world. I am just not in the mindset of just tribalism and wrecking one company just to wreck them. We'll criticize it because we love it. But there's some people that criticize just because they can't stand it, supposedly. Then why are you spending any time on it? I love pro wrestling. I criticize it because I want it to be better. I love it. So I want it to do better. Some people just criticize to criticize. Eric Bischoff has been guilty of that by a lot of people, supposedly. There is some things that I see. A lot of what he says is true. But the way that he says it, it leaves a lot of people going, oh, it's just Eric. He's just bashing AEW. I had one thing, too. Where's one of my notes? Do you guys see what Bischoff said? And again, a lot of what Bischoff says is actually true. He's a smart dude. It's just sometimes he also hits those low ball hits that are not needed. And that's what a lot of people say, dude, come on. Now you're just wrecking them because you supposedly don't like them. If that's the case, don't even bother talking about it. But Bischoff said this about Tony Khan, and he hit hard recently, man. Bischoff says, and I quote, this is Eric Bischoff on Tony Khan, I've gotten so used to TK saying stupid shit because he's not the brightest bulb in the Christmas tree. He's just not. He may be really smart when it comes to data and analytics, although I'm even beginning to question that because he's clearly not analyzing his own data. I'm sure there are many things that TK is intelligent about, Tony Khan is intelligent about, but not when it comes to the wrestling business. Even when WCW had the wheels flying off, heading down the highway with sparks flying and everything else, Tony Khan and AEW aren't even close to WCW when it was on its way to the bottom. Don't legitimately try to compare what you're doing even to WCW at its lowest point. Damn! He called the dude not the brightest bulb in the Christmas tree. He said he's probably smart on many things, but it's not pro wrestling. He says he tries to be smart on looking at the analytics, when clearly he's not even bright at that because he's not analyzing his own data. So he hit hard on all of it. And then he tells him, don't even try to compare your product with WCW, even at its lowest point when it was bottoming out. So again, a lot of people, they hear what Eric Bischoff says, and it's like, all right, there is a lot of truth here. Then they hear a lot of the very low-hanging fruit digs, and that's what makes people go, are we jumping from factual, fair criticism to just absolutely ripping the product apart because you simply don't like any aspect and you don't like the dude running it? Are we crossing that line? Because if that's the case, even when they do things really good, you'll only hear some of these people just speak very quickly on the good things, right? Very quickly, and then they'll go right back to an hour and a half of the negatives. Well, let that breathe a little bit. If it's something really good, let it breathe, right? Like, as much as we can critique Hunter Hearst Helmsley, right, we also give those accolades when he's doing something really good that Vinnie Mac didn't do. Finn Balor recently. Finn Balor said that the biggest difference he sees, because just like Trish Stratus recently said, there's not that much different between Vinnie Mac and Triple H, they're saying. But one of the things is when they're doing their promos, they get a little bit more leeway. Instead of just a full page of you have to hit this word for word, you get the bullet points. And you get to be yourself a little bit and ad-lib and throw your own character in there. That's what we need more of. That's what Vinnie Mac used to do back in the day, and he got too scripted. So I've spoken about this many times. I'll say it again here. Props to Hunter Hearst Helmsley, the man of three H's, because that's what we need. That's the only way you're going to get true big-time superstars is when we get to see the character and the personality. The Roddy Pipers, the Ric Flairs, the Hogans, the Savages, the Warriors, even the Takers. And he didn't say too much in many years, Undertaker, but man, he got to add a lot of his own unique personality. I'm not even talking the American Badass. I'm talking about the dead man, the Undertaker. The ad-lib, man. It's got to be bullet points, not full word for word scriptation. Can't be. So that's praise to Hunter Helmsley, and I make sure that I say that many times, and I make sure that I let that breathe, because as much as we can be harsh in our criticism, we have to praise and prop up the praise. Because then people like Hunter Hearst Helmsley go, oh, okay, they're not just bashing us. They want to see us do good. A better product by WWE means a better, a happier, more amplified fan base in totality. So we want to see these people succeed. So sometimes, you just get individuals that they just want to rip. Bischoff kind of straddles that line, and then he crosses it a little bit too much. It's like, say the point, but you don't have to go too low on that hanging fruit. But obviously there's very real animosity between Bischoff and Tony Khan. So I just bring that up too. That's another part of just this odd thing with AEW, and they just can't seem to find a groove. I felt I don't get to watch their Wednesday night product all the time, but I feel like they've had some damn good shows over the last several months. Couple, 2-3 times I've tuned in, there was some good stuff going on. Unfortunately, they're trying to get the audience they once lost. They're trying to get them back. That's very hard to do. And then you start losing the faith of a lot of the people in the industry, and that doesn't help you. So anyway, that's the latest on the contract negotiations. It doesn't look like this thing is getting done for anywhere near what Tony Khan would like it to get done for financially. So we'll see, guys. I know that was that was a longer conversation on the TK thing, guys, but Reese, TK wants moments, not storylines. And the dream matches. Too many. And that's another thing, that's why I say, like, even if AEW is not your cup of coffee, that's fine. There's a lot of segments. A lot of times I tune in and I'm just instantly like, that's just not my cup of coffee. That's not my clearly Canadian right now. And I just can't watch it. Too many times where Tony Khan will just pluck somebody from Japan or pluck somebody from Mexico, pluck somebody from Europe that, not a lot of fans have really heard too much about or know too much about. He'll throw them into an AEW ring. He'll call it a dream match. And that's what we're watching. And you're kind of like, all right, they can do cool moves, but what's the reason to care? And you can call it a dream match. You could say it's for your niche audience, but what happens when your niche audience goes backwards? Because now they're struggling just to get the 700,000 viewership. So, the moments in the dream matches, I get it. But how about you really spend that time on the storylines that people connect with? I'll tell you guys one thing, man. He ended Wednesday's show with a Tony Storm, Mariah May, right? The turn on Storm. And everybody, there's so many people still talking about that, guys. And we're, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 5 days later. People are still talking about how well done that was, how they let it breathe, how they just let it take shape. They put it perfectly at the end. They let it unfold. They spent the time on it. That's how you fade to black. You know, more of that. You never know. Maybe you can get the niche you once lost back, and maybe you can start to get those new casuals. And maybe they get the TV deal that they want. Yeah, what was that? Branulos? Not many people expected that. It was just well done. That's what I mean. The creative behind it was well done, but the way that Tony and May, brought it to life, that's what makes a really good segment, when everybody did their part beautifully to a T. So we'll see what TV contract they get, if any, with Warner Discovery. It's just they're not getting what they want. So, yes, JR9 for sure. Those are the type of things that makes me want to see things like that. Something simplistic like CM Punk and Seth Rollins last week. I'm like, yeah, I want to see that match. Along with the Drew versus Punk, I want to see Punk and Rollins. When something is done right, even if it's one interaction, it piques the curiosity, interest, and you kind of want to see it more. Moving on to, where do I want to go to? Speaking of, before I get to the Raw preview, I do want to say there's a report that one big SummerSlam match that's been talked about is not happening. Now, of course, 19 days away from SummerSlam, tonight we could find out more about it, but a report that a triple threat match between Punk, McIntyre, and Rollins is supposedly scrapped and off the table. My response to this report is, why would that even be a thing? Why would Rollins and Punk and McIntyre have a triple threat? Why would that be a thing? That's got no reason to happen. There's no title on the line. Why would you have a triple threat between these three dudes that has nothing on the line? What are you accomplishing? Punk and Drew have to accomplish something. That's a one-on-one thing. Rollins and Punk have to accomplish something. That's one-on-one. Rollins and Drew have nothing. Drew doesn't have the title. I could see if he had the title and Rollins thinks he got screwed and he deserves another title shot. Rollins has nothing to do with Drew and Punk or to be in there. So why would that even be a thing? I know we've been away for the weekend, not in its entirety, right? Saturday I put up the SmackDown review. So basically we've only been away for a Sunday. And in those 24 hours, this triple threat has taken on a life of its own. Why would that have been a triple threat? That makes, as Justine says, that makes no sense. If there's a title on I hate schmaz matches anyway, right? Just throwing a bunch of, it should be a champion versus a number one contender. But we see too many fatal four-ways, too many triple threats for no reason with these championship titles. And then we saw a bunch, wasn't it, to get into tournament like Money in the Bank, or maybe it was King of the Ring, but we saw a bunch of triple threat matches. You guys remember? But at least that had like a reasoning, right? You had to get into this tournament. But I don't understand why that was being talked about. No, Punk and Drew is too massive. It's one of the best storylines in WWE. There's no way you add a third wheel. Seth and Punk is too big. You don't add a third wheel to that. And you want to dilute the process, diminish the value by putting these three in there together. Stop it. And thank goodness, if that was being talked about, it's been scrapped. Much praise to Hunter Hearst Helmsley if that's never talked about again. We do not need a triple threat between. There's nothing on the line. Triple threat for what? CM Punk's bracelet? Sethington Rollins' boots, his heels? Becky probably is going to want them back, so maybe Sethington wins the triple threat. There's no way she can lose those heels from her closet. So Sethington should have never took them from the closet. But what are they going to fight for? Sethington's heels? Or Becky's heels? Angela the sword? The kilt? The bracelet? There's no reason, guys. Keep it separate. 100 on the ups. I appreciate that before we actually get into the preview. I know I said within a half an hour. I got to spend a few extra minutes because I do have to go with a Raw review with you guys. Preview. So thank you on the 100 on the live crowd. Those watching on the replay, smash that. Let's get that to 2. I appreciate it big time. Monday Night Raw's preview for tonight. Rhea Ripley starts the show. That's right. Massive way to start the show. Rhea Ripley is going to start this thing off. And Rhea Ripley, they got something big planned with the storyline with Liv and Dominic. I like how they're starting it off. They ended it with the brush off, right? They ended it kind of just snap of a finger. She was kind of pushing Dominic away when he goes to hug her. That's how you end it. You start the show that way. I want to see something big with Liv and Rhea, man. You are 19 days away from SummerSlam. Something big right now. Don't wait till the go-home show in 2 weeks. So that's a big way to start the show. We'll see what they have unfold between them. Match-wise, you're going to get... what are you going to get? Sheamus versus Bronson Reed. Sheamus versus Bronson Reed. What else are you going to get? That's really it, right? Damian and Gunther are going to face off. You're finally going to get Gunther on Raw tonight. Do you guys remember Gunther as part of the roster? He's going to be in one of the main events. It's going to be heel versus heel. So tonight, you're going to have heel Damian facing off with heel Gunther. And I guess the crowd is going to pick a favorite or... He was invited to Raw last week by Damian. So a Raw wrestler who's going to be taking on Damian for the title at SummerSlam in 19 nights, he was invited to Raw because he never shows up to Raw anyway. Kind of odd. But that is tonight. Damian and Gunther will face off. Rhea Ripley is going to start the show. McIntyre returns. He was only gone for 1 week. He was suspended for his actions at the Money in the Bank PLE and what happened after Money in the Bank. But he was only suspended for 1 week. Punk is calling for Adam Pearce to bring him back. Pearce says, okay, but you have to remain home, he tells CM Punk. So he invited Drew McIntyre. Now on the social doohickey, Adam Pearce and McIntyre have been going back and forth, so that should be a fun interaction tonight. I think something really cool. If Punk cannot compete at SummerSlam, and you have to drag this out between Mac and Punk, I have Drew McIntyre annihilate the general manager Adam Pearce tonight. Absolutely. Send an awesome statement by Drew McIntyre. Be pretty cool. But McIntyre returns tonight. Gunther returns tonight. And Sheamus and Bronson. And then a befuddling IC title match. No joke here. I don't even know how this is even a fathomable, conceived thought in WWE creative, much less approved by Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Sami Zayn is defending the Intercontinental Championship title tonight against Dragunov. You guys know he's one of my favorite dudes in the industry, and that happened pretty quickly. I saw the guys work some matches, and I was like, yep, he's the real deal. In the short couple of months he's been on the main roster, he has absolutely become one of the most average mid-AF wrestlers I've seen in a long time, because the size and the stature matched up with his booking. It easily makes the casual fan just say, okay, this guy he's nothing. And that's sad because he should be everything. Tonight, Dragunov somehow gets a title match. And I just want to go over, because I want you guys to just see why a lot of fans, and BC is included, were befuddled by this, because it doesn't make sense. We like Dragunov. We want opportunities, obviously. We want W's collected. But you can't book him like this. Listen to this, guys. This is since he's been on the main roster. Since he's been on the main roster, and I'm not doing the Shinsuke match because that was a one-off around WrestleMania, correct? I'm talking about like May when they really started to utilize him. He beat Ricochet. Then he lost to Jey Uso via pinfall. Then he lost to Rico via DQ. So Rico avenged that loss, got a W over Dragunov. So beat Rico, lost to Jey Uso via pinfall, lost to Ricochet via DQ. Then he lost to Braun Breaker via pinfall. Then he lost to Drew McIntyre. Then he beat Braun Breaker via DQ. And then he drew a draw versus Mello this past weekend on a show called Speed. So he didn't even beat the other newcomer. I don't know why you would take two newbies, put them together where none of them are going to walk out with a W. I don't know what this says. But he couldn't even get a victory on Speed. Speed. So if you want me to go over it again, it is win, loss, win, draw, 7 matches in 3 months, and he only has 1 pinfall. 7 matches in 3 months, 1 pinfall victory. That was back on May 6th against Ricochet, so you have to go back over 2 months ago for his 1 pinfall. And he gets an Intercontinental title match tonight. I ask, how? How is that possible, realistically? When you can look at so many of that roster, some have had 2, 3, 4 match win streaks, and you're going to go, we're going to go Dragunov because he saved Sami last week. Well, what is Dragunov doing? Running down to help Ricochet 2 weeks in a row recently, last month, and then he's running down to save Sami Zayn, and he's all concerned, almost in tears. That's not Dragunov's character. So why are you booking him just to be that third wheel or the annoying little stepbrother? He's always there. Sometimes it's a good thing to help you out a little bit. Sometimes he's there and you just don't want him there, right? He's that little stepbrother. Why is he booked like that? And then you throw him into a title match. You know damn well Dragunov ain't winning this thing. Could you imagine that in just a couple months, Sami Zayn wins it at WrestleMania? A few months later, he loses it in the middle of a Monday Night Raw. To do what? Try to get to a triple threat with Braun Breaker and Sami at SummerSlam, and maybe Breaker beats Dragunov for the title? Or is this a way to make the SummerSlam match a triple threat? Breaker comes in, beats the heck out of Zayn and Dragunov. So Dragunov didn't have a fair opportunity to get the title. So Adam Pearce says, you know what? SummerSlam, Sami versus Dragunov versus Breaker. And that's an easy way for Breaker to get his championship, right? They didn't want him to do the deed over Sami, so do the deed over the dude that you already beat, correct, via pinfall? Yes, Braun Breaker. He beat Dragunov via pinfall a few weeks ago. So you already beat him at SummerSlam. And that's how Sami will lose his championship. If you wondered why Sami went over at Money in the Bank, I'm guessing that's the way that's going to happen, correct? Because that's the only way I see this happening. There's no way the dude's walking away with a championship, but as a Dragunov supporter, I can tell you this. There's no reason that you book him into a title match when he does nothing but lose. He was on speed this weekend, and he drew a draw against Mello. Speed! Now he's in an IC title match. Why? Because he saved Sami last night from Braun Breaker. Or did he? Do you guys even remember how that segment ended? Braun Breaker laughed at them both and beat them up. The segment ended with both of the dudes under the commentary table, either injured or hiding or both. And Braun Breaker is like, yeah, is that all you got? Send in Sheamus with you guys. Because 2 is not going to do it. You're going to need a plethora. And now all of a sudden the dude's in a title match. I mean, JR9 in the chat. Can you believe this, bro? Because JR9 also has the highest of respect for Dragunov. This dude has watched him even before BC, detailed manner in NXT. And we want the best for Dragunov. We've been, for weeks, telling everybody, anybody that would listen, this dude needs good booking. I don't know how you take him from a losing streak to a speed draw to a championship match. JR9, what do you think, brother? I'm on a delay, but there's JR9. Dragunov is my favorite talent today, but yeah, this is just nonsensical. You can't even... I don't even know how it's been botched this bad for Dragunov. I don't. And they're just, it's like day-to-day booking. They have no plan. They have no plan at all. Just go out there and put who we need you to put over. We need you to lose to McIntyre. Okay. We need you to lose to Braun Breaker, and we need you to get pinned. Okay. We need Ricochet to avenge that loss that you gave him a few weeks ago. We'll make a DQ, but you have to lose to Ricochet. Okay. You have to lose to... who else? Jey Uso. Okay. We need Jey Uso to beat you. We need you to have a draw on speed against Mello. We can't have Mello lose again because we've already made him lose a lot. So just have a draw on speed. And then this week they're just like, fuck, how do we make Dragunov a third wheel? Continue this with Breaker and Sami, but still have something for Dragunov. Why don't we just put Dragunov in a title match? Because that makes sense. I tell you, man. Guys, that's what I got for you, man. I tried to make this within a half an hour. All apologies. We went over 10 minutes. But go about your Mondays. I will have the full review for you guys. I got a lot of business to take care of before that, but hopefully, I am back before Raw hits the airwaves. No matter what, I will have a detailed review for you guys. I don't know if that's going to be live or not. But I will have a detailed review for you guys. So go about your Mondays, whoop that ass. Oh, hold on. I got to give a shout out over to Joker716, that 2-spot coffee. Appreciate the super chat, Joker. BC in the unit. Been a while, brother. Let's. We got to do this correctly. Let's get amplified. Joker716. Keep rocking, man. I know we're in the middle of a legit heat wave, not just NXT. So I know everybody's trying to get their errands done, do what they got to do, and try not to melt. But Joker716, appreciate the coffee, man. Just good seeing you up in here, Joker716. Appreciate you big time, man. And I also want to, before I check out, I want to send a shout out over to Ron C23, celebrating 18 months of channel membership, man. BC, we staying amped. Woo! That was one of my best woos. Ron C23, the resident Charlie Flair fan, up in the chat usually. So Ron C23, that was one of my better woos, man. But Joker716, thank you for the coffee, man. Or should I say the clearly Canadian. Ron C23 with 18-month membership, 19 months from JR9 Gaming. I appreciate the additional layers of support. Let me give you guys a proper salute before I check out. Hold on. Salute, Ron C23, JR9, and Joker716. 716, correct? Joker. Hold on, brother. We got to get that right, Joker. Hold on. Yeah, 716. Yes, yeah. The way you put out the 16 after that, man, I always got to do a double check on it. Salute. All right, guys. I appreciate it. Till next time, and there will be that next time, Monday Night Raw review. Catch it within the next 24 hours. To my replay unit, smash that up. And that's what I got for you. I know there's probably a bunch of news will come in after we're live, but I'll cover it tomorrow, right? Salute. Check you. Salute.